movie fans, what's going on? It's your host Jesse Swift and welcome to a very special episode of Think Now. This is our first versus video. And what is the topic? You're probably asking yourself. Well, it is of course the most controversial comic book film in the last 3 years. That is Man of Steel. I will be hosting this battle of wits with my good friend Nassim Rizvi. I will be taking the side of the top 10 best parts about Man of Steel and what makes it such a brilliant film. Nassim will be tackling the shortcomings and flaws of the film and the ways that she thinks that it could have done a lot better. So, without further ado, I want to get into it. I hope you guys are excited. This has been a long time coming, and I can't wait. So,
goodbye, my son. Our hopes and dreams travel with you.
He'll be an outcast. I'll kill him.
How? He'll be a god to them.
hey guys, I'm sure you're just as excited as I am to get into my top 10 reasons why I think Man of Steel is an absolutely phenomenal film. But before we do that, 2 disclaimers really quick. One is that this is going to be a spoiler-filled breakdown. I am assuming that in the last 3 years you have had an opportunity to see Man of Steel, and if you have not, please, what are you doing? Watch it right now, then come back to us, join in the discussion, and share your thoughts and opinions down below. The second thing that I want to get out there is that if this comes across to be a really biased review, I gotta admit that's because it is. Man of Steel is absolutely, without a doubt, my favorite comic book movie of all time. So you're going to be getting a list from somebody that is a shameless Man of Steel fan. So as long as you're okay with that, let's move forward, and I can't wait to share this with you guys. The first point I want to make about Man of Steel is arguably the most important factor of the whole movie, and that is that I think that movie is absolutely necessary. The past incarnations that we have had of Superman have been dry, boring cardboard cutouts, and that includes Christopher Reeve, call it blasphemy, I don't care, Brandon Routh, Tom Welling. All the characters lacked a certain depth. I think Smallville may be the closest that we've had, but it was a very serialized TV show, and it didn't really work for me. I didn't get too far into it. So I was looking for a retelling, a reinvention, and a rebirth of the Superman character. I was a fan of him in the cartoons, but he was never my favorite superhero, and I felt like he should be because he is the one that started it all. He had some of the coolest powers. I wanted to like him. So thank you, Zack Snyder, for the work you put into Man of Steel, because you made a character that was relatable. He was human first before he was a godlike alien, and because of that, he has now become one of my very favorite superheroes. So I have to give full marks to the cast, crew, and everyone behind the movie for what they did in accomplishing that feat. Alright, number 2. Now, I knew I wasn't going to get very far into this video without talking about Hans Zimmer's amazing score. Now, I've never been somebody that really listened to the score or soundtrack of a film. That is until I saw trailer 3 for Man of Steel, and I was like, holy crap, that music! I had never in my life gotten goosebumps watching a trailer until that moment. And then when I sat in the theater, I was just blown away with the surround sound and just the build and the climb. And there was just so much epicness and weight to the music that I can listen to Hans Zimmer's Man of Steel soundtrack over and over again. In fact, that's exactly what I do when I go to the gym, when I'm on the treadmill, when I'm lifting weights. I find nothing more inspiring than the music that he wrote and scored for that movie. I have a sample of it right here. I mean, this gets me pumped. I can feel my hair rising. This is when he flies for the first time in the film. I just think it's great, and I've never had that feeling before this film. So I have to give, again, full marks to Hans Zimmer. Way to go, man. You killed it. Crushed it. Can't wait to hear his new score in collaboration with Junkie XL in Batman v Superman. Obviously, one of the biggest highlights of Man of Steel is the time spent on Krypton. Within the first 15 minutes of the movie, you know that we're in for a special treat. We have never seen Krypton like this. Krypton in the past has always been a giant, dull, boring ice planet. This time it is rich and full of life and culture, and we get history. We get to find out about how The planet was losing resources, and so they would scout for other planets, and they sent out scout ships. If you read the prequel comics, that included Kara Zor-El, which is Supergirl, and then you get to find out that they have given up on natural birth and that they're actually manufacturing babies, and these babies all have a predetermined destiny. You're either born to be a general or a scientist, and you have no choice in life. And Jor-El decided that that was wrong, and they had the first natural birth in history, which was Kal-El, which is Superman, which just makes his story and his coming to Earth that much more fascinating. I would have loved to see another 2 hours of Krypton and just really immerse myself in that world, but that is easily one of my favorite parts of the movie. And when I was sitting in the theaters, I didn't want it to end. I wasn't ready to go to Earth. I completely forgot what I was watching because I thought Krypton was so fantastic, and the codex and everything else about the culture, the armor, the crests that are the symbols of each family. We know the House of El, Superman's family, it's not an S, it means hope. I thought that was a great way of taking what we know and spinning it on its head. So again, Krypton was fantastic, and I hope sometime down the road we have an opportunity to go back and revisit some of that culture. One of my favorite things about this movie is what Zack Snyder was able to do with the environment and the atmosphere of the film. He made this into more of a sci-fi film and not just a fantasy film. And the way he did that was absolutely just the attention to detail. Right from when you're on Krypton and they're explaining that Earth's younger son and a more enriching atmosphere will give our son these abilities. And you're like, oh, you know, I mean, that's a little crazy, but it kind of makes sense. Like, they at least tried to explain it. And you see him reaching out to the sun, and they gave the character some like scientific backing, as well as showing how the military, the press, and just general society would react to a superpowered being or multiple superpowered beings coming to their planet and warring amongst each other. And all those different things that they did really complemented the film and made it feel real and authentic. It was like a Dark Knight approach to Superman. It's something I never thought could be done, but now is one of the main reasons I'm looking forward to Batman v Superman, just seeing how they handle and deal with all the collateral damages and responsibilities of being a superhero. I think it's something that is often really skimmed over in other films in this genre. Okay, so we're past the halfway mark, and I think this is as good a time as any to talk about my absolute favorite part of the entire movie, and that is Clark's transformation into Kal-El, becoming Superman, becoming a public figure. His whole life, his Earth dad has taught him to keep hiding. The world's not ready for you. And then Jor-El says, you will be the bridge between these people. You will be the symbol of hope. They will stumble, they will fall, but they will join you in the sun. It's just a great speech. And Kal-El, Clark Kent, embraces his destiny. He puts on the suit and he starts testing his limits to know how powerful he really is, so that he could be the savior to humanity. And you see him take a couple leaps and jumps, and when he finally gets airborne, I get goosebumps just thinking about it. You could see it if you were here. And he takes off to the sky, and then he crashes and he falls through a mountain. You see him get up that one more time, and he just flies up through the air, breaks the sound barrier, comes down. He's flying through Africa and the water, and it's that original slogan from the very first Superman movie, you'll believe a man can fly. That's how I felt here. It's almost impossible to watch this movie and not just ride along with him, just fly with him. I got choked up the first time I saw it, and I think a lot of that again was because of Hans Zimmer's score, but just watching this transformation from a boy to a man that was ashamed of himself, that hid his powers, did his best to save and help who he could, but now truly embraced himself as the superhero that he was. I think it was very powerful, well done, and I couldn't ask of Zack Snyder to do anything other than what he did. Okay, before we get to the last 3 points of my list, I just want to take a little bit of time talking about the supporting cast of characters and how well they did. I think Amy Adams was a great Lois Lane. She was fiery, she was confident, she was independent, and she wasn't as much of a damsel in distress as a lot of other female characters have been in the past. And on top of that, her boss, Perry White, did very well. I also think that the Kent families were casted very well. Kevin Costner as Jonathan Kent and Diane Lane as Martha Kent. They were my favorite, Jonathan and Martha, but I think they did a really great and serviceable job. And I think the highlight of the supporting characters is definitely Russell Crowe as Jor-El. He really brought life into a character that I believe never had it before. And just the combination of all these characters and the way they interacted with Superman and the events of the movie, I feel like really enriched the environment and made it, again, more authentic. So I really commend the writers and the actors on the job they did of giving Superman a really great environment to interact with. Alright, number 8. We're almost there, and I know I'm going to get some hate for this one because this is one of the most controversial parts of the entire movie, and I think it's also the part that works the best for me, and that is the no-win situation that Zod puts Superman in. The moment where Kal-El, Clark Kent, is forced to kill General Zod, and everyone complains, Superman doesn't kill, Superman doesn't kill. Well, for one, shut up, read a comic, he's done it before when it's necessary. He doesn't like to kill, he's not brutal, he's not the Punisher. Honestly, Batman has killed more than Superman. Batman is more brutal and cruel than he is. And if you just saw the reaction when Superman dropped to his knees and screamed out in agony because he killed the last Kryptonian other than himself, it was tragic. And it got me right in the feels. But I think it was really ballsy of Zack Snyder to show Superman killing somebody, but it was a situation where there was no other choice, and I'm really tired of people judging that decision or, getting on Superman for killing Zod. There was no other option. Zod was going to kill the entire planet and everybody on it. You can't put him in prison. He would break out. There's no prison on Earth that could hold him. He tried to send Zod and all the Kryptonians to the Phantom Zone. Zod survived. There was a fight. Zod was just killing thousands of people in this battle that Superman couldn't get away from. So, yes, that's what happened. He was in a no-win situation, and you got to see Superman more vulnerable than you had in the entire movie, and you had to see him make a very tough call. I think it was a great moment. I hope to see more of him, and I also think it's going to have a huge impact on his mentality in Batman v Superman moving forward. And of course, I'm going to mention Zod as the villain. We had some great side villains with Feora and the big tall Kryptonian and stuff like that, but Zod to me is one of the best villains that we've seen in the last 10 years, and yes, I'm saying he holds up against the Joker from The Dark Knight and Loki from The Avengers. He's not as likable as either of those characters, but I feel like the best villains are the ones that see themselves as the hero in their own story, and that was very much the case with General Zod. General Zod was from birth designed to not only be the military leader of Krypton, but actually its savior and its protector, and that's exactly what he went to do. Once his planet blew up and he came out of the Phantom Zone, he was looking for ways to rebuild Krypton, and he knew that he needed the Codex to do that. So he came to Earth once he discovered where Superman was, and he tried to work with him. He's like, hey, let's rebuild our people and our planet. Superman refused, and so he had no other option other than to try to extract it from him, and then the fight ensued. And to me, of course, he's genocidal and he's wrong, but I feel like there's people that in the same situation would do the exact same thing, and that's what I think makes the best villains, when you see where they are coming from. So with that, and then also Zod represented a physical threat to not only the planet but to Superman. It wasn't just another Lex Luthor. It was a very different dichotomy. Lex Luthor is always just against Superman. Zod was against the world, and Superman was our only savior. So I think it put him in there was a really great situational conflict that I appreciated to see something different. Okay guys, get your Rotten Tomatoes and your eggs ready, because this is my number 10, and I know that this is a huge problem for most people in the film, but the thing that I love the most about this movie is just the incredible action and the destruction, and you can feel the weight of these two titans fighting, and it's just seeing the buildings collapse and trucks getting kicked around and the laser beams, and you just know that there's death and casualty, and there's tragedies happening in this fight. It's not just a little skirmish like Captain America or Iron Man, where a few people might get hurt. There are thousands of people dying. The entire world is resting on Superman's shoulders, and I think a lot of people don't give him enough credit for this film. Yeah, there was deaths in the building, but he was fighting on Zod's term, not his own. Zod was a more skilled and experienced fighter, and it's just that's what happens. And it felt to me like those of you that are fans of Dragon Ball Z, the anime series, for being a kid, it felt like you finally got to see live action, people flying around faster than you can see, laser blasts, and it was so cool. And I had always wanted to see that side of Superman, the things that you get to see in the cartoons that are never really done or realized in real life. And this was the first movie that showed what Superman can really do. Superman Returns, Smallville, all those things failed in comparison to show just how powerful he really is. So I appreciate Zack Snyder and the visuals and everything he did, and I cannot wait to see them step it up in Batman v Superman. Dawn of Justice is just right around the corner. But there you have it, guys. That's my top 10 list of what makes Man of Steel an amazing movie. If you agree with me, please comment down below. If you don't agree with me, please comment down below. And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And check out Nassim's video. Should be released in the next couple days. And until next time, may the film be with you. Always.